So the number one rule of minimalism is that there are no rules. Hey guys, how you doing? It's Martin Cliffe here. Welcome to another video. And I'm sure if you, like me, have been exploring minimalism for a while, or at least delving into it and being interested in it, there have been all sorts of times when you come across things that seem like minimalist rule books, or sets of things that people say you should do or you must do to be a minimalist. But then, as you delve deeper, you probably find that a lot of these, or maybe not those people, but the kind of key people who are respected in the minimalist community, kind of dispel some of those. Now, there's some things that I've come across that I'm not sure work for me in my minimalist journey. Doesn't mean they won't work for you. But there's been some things as well that are rules or maybe suggestions and ideas that have worked really well for me. So I thought I'd just delve into a couple of these in this episode. Now, one of the things that I can understand where it's coming from is the idea of not buying in bulk. While you might save money by buying 30 of something in Costco if you're in the US, or some equivalent thing, as opposed to buying 3 or 4, even if you only use 3 or 4 a month, the amount of space that takes up, and therefore the physical clutter that you acquire as a result of that, may not be beneficial. But does it apply for everything? I think this is partly a lifestyle decision that you can make. So, you don't buy toilet rolls individually, because you'd end up probably, if you're in a big household, needing one every single day, and you'd have to go to the store every day. So maybe you don't go and buy toilet rolls in 60 packs, but buy 8 or 10 by all means. That's not an issue. We try not to buy too much in bulk, but there are a few things that we do have to buy in bulk. I like Lime Original Source shower gel. It's the main thing other than toothbrush and toothpaste in my bathroom setup, if you will. Can't find it in Romania, so when I get a chance to buy it, I don't want to buy a single bottle because I'm having to import it from Germany, from Amazon, and it would cost more for the shipping than it would for the item. So I tend to buy 6 at a time, which lasts me several months, and that then, it doesn't take up vast amounts of room, but it's enough to offset the cost of shipping and the carbon footprint of shipping, let's face it, because what's the point in buying a lovely vegan, cruelty-free shower gel that not only makes you feel great but also is environmentally sound if then you're getting it shipped every month from another country. This is partly a Romania thing where certain things that we're used to aren't available over here. There aren't a huge number of British people in Romania, so the shops don't necessarily cater for our specific needs. So another thing, Weetabix. Breakfast cereal. I've been a Weetabix baby since I was a baby, basically. I've almost always eaten Weetabix at breakfast for 40 years plus. Again, not available in Romania in the shops, at least not in the ones near us. So, Amazon Germany, again, sell it in boxes of 7 boxes or 14 boxes. The shipping costs the same. It's not very heavy, so we tend to buy it about every 5 or 6 months in 14 pack boxes. It then lasts us that amount of time. It's slightly annoying to be able to store it, but I have a drawer that it goes in. It's away. It's not visually clutter. It's frustrating to have to buy 14 boxes. I'd love to be able to go down to the supermarket and buy 1 or 2. We can't do that, and I'm not willing to compromise that part of something that brings me joy in my lifestyle. The third one is Monin caramel coffee syrup. I am a big fan of a little bit of caramel syrup, just a little bit in my coffee in the morning. Very hard to find here. Can get it in Bucharest, but again, the supplier charges per delivery, not per item. So we tend to buy 4 or 5 or maybe 6 at a time. It's not bulk in the sense of buying 100, but it is more than we need at any one time. But a lot of things, I don't have to go out every day to work, so a lot of things I can go and get from the supermarket. I'm usually somewhere near a supermarket at least every other day. I appreciate that for bigger households, that might be more difficult. What are the rules? Well, there's things like the 1 in 1 out rule. I really like this, in the sense of, if you bring something into your life, say it's an item of clothing, you get rid of an item of clothing to replace that. I recently ordered a couple of t-shirts. So other t-shirts are going to replace them. In fact, I bought them because I got rid of already donated a couple of other t-shirts. And I needed to not fill slots in my wardrobe, but I really liked these t-shirts. I've been thinking about getting them for a long time. So that again goes along with the 30-day rule or something. It's like, put something off for 30 days. If you still want it, then go for it, because you've obviously, it's not had time to, it's not gone out of your mind as something you want. Just don't buy stuff straight away. So what rules are actually real rules of minimalism? I think, not getting rid of everything. It's not about what you get rid of so much as what you keep. The whole idea is keep the things that provide value in your life, and only the things that provide value in your life. And it can be hard with some things. That doesn't mean that something has to be useful in the way that a tool is useful. Maybe a picture on the wall doesn't provide any purpose in terms of functional purpose. Maybe just something you have to clean every week or two or whatever, and it's frustrating at that point. But when you look at it, if it brings you joy, it's providing value to your life. Then there are things that maybe don't provide joy in that kind of way, but are an essential part of your life, like tools. I don't know anyone who's passionate about vacuum cleaners, even if you have a Dyson. But you almost certainly need a vacuum cleaner in your household, unless you're in a small enough place that you're able to just sweep up with a dustpan and brush or whatever. But even then, to do a really thorough clean, it's useful to have a vacuum cleaner. For me as a creative, there are tools that I have that other people, other minimalists, wouldn't need. A lot of minimalists don't need to have guitars around. I'm a guitar player and teacher and composer and arranger. I need musical instruments around to do what I do, and they bring me great joy and they fulfill me. But when I had too many of them, they were not bringing me joy in the same kind of way. I wasn't getting the satisfaction from them that maybe I am now, because I've reduced my collection down to the essentials. Lots to think about in terms of that. I like Break the Twitch. Anthony Ongaro has 10 minimalism guidelines, and I love that he's called them guidelines and he's not called them rules. I'll link to the page, but number one is it doesn't need to cost any money. You don't need to buy new stuff to be a minimalist. You can gradually take your time, get rid of the things that aren't essential, but you don't have to bring in new things unless you want to. But it's okay to bring in new things if you want to. Number two is the process is dynamic, not static. You don't go from being a non-minimalist to a minimalist overnight. It doesn't happen. Unless something catastrophic happens, like your house burns down and you're forced into it, and you decide at that point to make that mindset. And I really hope that doesn't happen to any of my viewers, but it could happen. But I don't think at that point you would be in the right place to make that decision. Now, it might be a convenient if you're already wishing you were more minimal and you don't know how to get rid of all the clutter, which again doesn't mean burn down your house to get rid of it. That's not the answer at all. But yeah, there is a very small percentage chance where that situation might work for you. But it's a dynamic thing, it's a gradual thing. Your values will change. You will look at something one day and think, I really need to keep that. And then maybe you'll look at it 3 months down the line, realize you've not touched it for those 3 months and think, okay, I don't need to keep that anymore. Or maybe at some point in your life you'll decide, I don't need a bread maker. I've never had a bread maker, it's just an illustration. But then at another point in your life you will decide, maybe if something happens again like the lockdowns and stuff, I really want to make my own bread. Then a bread maker will add value to your life at that point. I say, it's not something we thought about buying a bread maker at one point. But we've been generally slightly disappointed with the bread we've had made in bread makers. So, rule number 3 is declutter first, organize second. Well, how does that work? Well, if you organize first, then organizing is by very nature a process of putting everything away. If you've got room to put all the stuff away, then you're not going to have the visual clutter and everything that is what's driving you towards minimalism in the first place. And also, if you're organizing, you're more likely to be bringing in new things, organization tools and organization boxes and all that kind of thing. Far better to have less to organize by decluttering first. And I don't really like how much of a buzzword decluttering has been, because minimalism is not about decluttering, but it is a step in the process that will get you to a more minimal place. So do that first and then organize what you have left. It's much easier. Rule number 4 says, don't let things or the pursuit of things get in the way. Now, it may be that you have some baggage in your life, physical clutter or emotional clutter or whatever it is. That doesn't mean that that needs to completely blanket everything else. I have a lot of Lego. That doesn't prevent me from pursuing minimalism in other aspects of my life while I figure out what the hell to do with all this Lego. I bought it before I'd gone down this route. I maybe got a little obsessed with it at the time in my late 30s, because that's what happens to me sometimes. But I'm not letting that interfere with other aspects of my life. I want to downsize my Lego collection, but it's a big step and I need to figure it out slowly. Rule number 5, there is no magical number of items. Don't fall into this trap. You may see people who say, you need to have 33 items in your wardrobe. Well, I did a wardrobe tour the other week and I think I had about 50. I'm okay with that. There are people who go through their entire life, everything that they own, they can contain in a backpack. That's great for them. It isn't going to work for other people, and that's also fine. But if you've got 100,000 items, maybe that's something that needs addressing. I would love to say that next time we move, we can do things ourselves in a van. We don't have to. We shipped, I think it was 106 boxes from Hong Kong to Bucharest. That's insane. We only shipped 30 from the UK to Hong Kong in the first place. And I hadn't even considered approaching minimalism. I'd even heard of the concept by then. So, there's no magic number of items. We're striving to reduce. I am striving to reduce. I've been relatively successful so far in reducing. You walk around our apartment, you don't see stuff everywhere. That's great, but it doesn't mean that there's not stuff still tucked away in cupboards and drawers and what have you that needs sorting out. Number 6 is an interesting one. It says it's not about swapping experiences for things. And this is really good because, you know, as I say, you talk about people who travel all the time with just everything in their backpack, but that isn't for everyone. Some people like having things around. And to be honest, I would much rather play a £2,000 guitar and go on a cheap holiday that doesn't have wild experiences than play a £200 guitar and spend the other £1,800 on a mad holiday that has lots of experiences, because I enjoy playing a £2,000 guitar much better than a £200 guitar. For me, at the level that I'm at as a player, that's something that is kind of important to me. Experiences are different from things. Experiences are great if you don't want to acquire more clutter, but they're not the be-all and end-all. I am very much in favour of the idea of giving people experiences as gifts, because you don't truly know what they want or need unless you specifically ask them and they tell you honestly. Whereas, you know, giving someone a voucher for a nice meal out, everyone likes a meal out now and then. That is great. But having experiences and things, it's about finding that balance, I think. And you know, Anthony agrees. It's intentional purchases of both experiences and things are what make you happiest. So find your balance. Don't just give up on things for experiences, unless that balance works for you. Rule number 7. Detaching your sense of self-worth from the things you own. We are not our stuff. Even if you have a Lamborghini or a Tesla, it's only stuff. Don't gain value from what you own. Yeah, I could easily say, oh look, I have a nice Rolex. I don't. This is a rotary watch. It's a really nice rotary watch, but it's not a Rolex. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I like the watch that I have. I don't flaunt it, except this video for an illustration. Yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable with just being who and what I am. I have what I have because I've been blessed at certain times in life to earn and achieve certain things. But I don't hold any kind of value. My self-esteem doesn't count on me having that. If someone stole my watch tomorrow, I would not be a lesser person as a result of it. I would just be slightly upset that someone has stolen my watch for a couple of days. But hopefully if they'd stolen it, it was because they needed to then sell it to buy food or something, not just that they're a career criminal who wants to steal mid-price watches. Guideline number 8 here is building your decision muscle. And this is something that, yeah, if you read different books on the process, it's about, yeah, start with the easy stuff in terms of deciding what to get rid of, what to declutter, what to downsize. Start with the stuff that doesn't matter as much. You know, go through that drawer full of pens and work out which ones you need to keep. Do you really need 7 blue felt tip pens that are all roughly the same colour and are starting to dry up and everything like that? No, you need one that is working and is good for what you're doing. Do you really need, you know, thousands of newspapers and books and everything like that? Some people are very attached to books, but if you've read it and you don't think you're going to read it again, that's quite an easy thing to let go of. Whereas more sentimental items, sometimes clothing for some people, photographs, digital items as well, you know, sometimes can be more difficult to get rid of. So start easy, start on the stuff. Maybe start in the kitchen. You've got a couple of rusty spoons that you don't use anymore. You don't need to keep them. Even if they were a gift, you don't need to keep them, because a gift's purpose exists as exists just for the process of giving somebody something. Once you've received it, then the gift's purpose is over. Then it becomes the item it is, the spoon. And maybe, you got value out of that spoon for a few years until it went rusty. Well, you don't owe it anything anymore. You don't owe the person who gave it you anything anymore because they gave it to you to use for a time. Even if you don't use it, that's okay. They gave it you because they thought you would find value in it. You didn't. That's okay. Anyone who gets really upset because you've given away or thrown away or donated something they gave you, maybe it's their priorities that need reassessing, not yours. So. Number 9, it's not about having an easier life. Yeah, that's true. Minimalism isn't easier. Might make cleaning easier, might make moving house easier, but it's not about having an easier life. An easy life isn't necessarily a good life. It's not necessarily a fulfilled life. It's just about, it forces you, in fact, to think a little bit harder about the stuff you have around. Is this valuable? Rather than just, I'm going to buy it so I have one. It's like, am I going to buy it? Is this really going to provide value, or is it something that just looks shiny in the store? It's the magpie thing. Magpies will pick up shiny scraps of metal just because they're shiny scraps of metal. But a lot of the time, they don't have value and they're just discarded. In the same way, we buy stuff, we put it in a drawer or a cupboard, we realise 20 years time when we move house that we've got this item that we'd forgotten we had. So it doesn't make life easier. It might make your finances easier, it might make cleaning or moving house easier, but it doesn't make life easier. You're just forced to think about things differently. And the final guideline here is about minimizing distractions of all types, including projects. And I really like this because it's not just about stuff. The whole thing about minimalism is it's not just about stuff. I talk about this a lot, but it's really not just about stuff. It's about what do you find value in, but also what is worth, contributing your time and energy to. So if you are committed to 30 different things in a week, and 20 of them don't bring you value and actually just wear you out and make you feel down and deflated every time you get involved with them, gradually and sensitively cut those things out of your life and commit to the things that bring you value or enable you to bring value to other people. That could be work as well. You might have a job that pays 6-7 figures, but you hate it. Could you live more comfortably and more joyfully on a job that maybe pays half of what you're on? I'm not saying, starve yourself. I'm not saying get yourself into debt because your lifestyle has crept to a point that you need to sustain the job you have. But if you're in a situation where you don't need what you have coming in, maybe because you've minimized, you can live in a smaller place, or you can maybe work 4 days instead of 5 or 6 and contribute to the community in those other days in some kind of way. It's so much not just about stuff. We take on all sorts of things in our lives. Maybe we watch too many TV programs. Well, let's minimize them. Which ones actually provide me joy and which ones do we just watch out of habit? Our social media. Do we really need 800 Facebook friends, or do we only actually interact with 200 of them? And would the other 600 even notice if we weren't friends with them anymore? Something I've done a few times is, as life changes, we've lived in 3 different countries now. There are people in the UK who I am so detached from as a person, emotionally and physically and everything else, that I don't see value in necessarily keeping in contact with all those people anymore. A lot of people I'm still in contact with because we provide value for each other. But there's so many things, Is following your favorite celebrity or your favorite brand on Instagram really providing you with any value or joy, or are you just feeling jealous or wanting to buy stuff that you don't need? I can't answer this for you, I can only answer this for me, but it's something to think about. So yeah, 10 little guidelines there. But the main thing is there are no rules. Maybe something that I've said really doesn't work for you. That's okay, because my version of minimalism is for me, and your version of minimalism is for you. And maybe you don't even call yourself a minimalist. I don't always. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.